Hey, it's Juck. I think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball. Now that Chip Kelly's on board, and I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome into a Juck on Bucks Monday. It's Iowa week, baby. Buckeyes' big 4-game stretch starts now, but a huge week 5 to recap before we move on to week 6. And we do that every Monday with my good friend, Kris Drew. Kris, how we doing, brother?
Good jucking morning, man. I'm doing well.
How was your weekend, buddy? How was your game? Did you end up going Friday night? Dude, the weather was horrible.
Yeah, weather was horrible. I was like back and forth the whole drive there. Ended up going to the Pantech Bowl, Gilmore versus University School. It rained. I was in a traditional hoodie, didn't have an umbrella, so just had the soggy hoodie and the soggy jeans, man, like a true warrior, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it was a good game. It was interesting. Cooper Pantech balled. Brody looked pretty good too. And Gilmore just like put the absolute beat down on University. And the most exciting moment of the game, other than like some of the deep shots that Cooper hit, was probably like after the game, like Gilmore went for 2, up 40 points at the end of the game. And it felt like one of those, like, why'd you go for 2? Well, because I couldn't go for 3. And I guess there's some history between these two schools about going for 2 and late in games up 2-3 scores. And so the handshake line afterwards got real spicy, man. Got real spicy between coaches. Coaches starting a little physical altercation there at the 50-yard line.
Oh, man. I've been involved in a handshake line brawl. St. V. Walsh. A lot of fun. Coaches didn't get involved. I don't like it when the coaches get involved.
Yeah.
With that. The players, that's all right. But so for those not familiar, Brody Lennon, Buckeyes tight end commit, played in this game Kris was at. How did he look?
He looked pretty good. Didn't do a ton in the passing game. I mean, first of all, it was really wet outside, and it was coming down. And second of all, like University like sent 3 with him everywhere they went. So it was like they weren't gonna let that kid kill him. And because of that, they were 1-on-1 everywhere else. And like Cooper, I think threw for 6 touchdowns, and I think he tied the school record for touchdowns in a game.
He's a stud.
Going elsewhere. Oh yeah, dude. Some G5 school is gonna get a freaking gem because this kid ended up being a late bloomer, but like he's really skinny, but he's got like absurd arm talent, and they call him like human jugs machine at the facilities, man, because he's just like everything's automatic and he can just let it rip, and he's really mature. He's just really skinny and needs more game reps, and then someone's gonna get a good quarterback, man. This is gonna be a guy that you see. And like group of 5 throwing for like 300 yards a game and then, playing really well and maybe getting poached by a bigger school. But
that really right there, man, that's the beauty of this system, Kris. One of the best parts is now if you are a late bloomer in high school, you're not stuck at that G5 school. You can move up. And we saw, with the quarterback for Minnesota is such a case. He was at a smaller school. He gets the call up to Minnesota, and now he's playing big-time college football. I think that kid won the Heisman, like the Division II Heisman, which I always forget the name.
He won the D2. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the award, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, won the D2 Heisman. So, no, somebody's going to get a really good player with Cooper. And also, like, Brody played defense too, man. It was really disruptive. Like, it felt like he was in the backfield the whole game when he was there. So,
Kris, he is a great defender. I think that kid could play at Ohio State on defense. Like, he is an amazing athlete.
I mean, isn't he just the reverse Cade Stover?
Yeah, exactly that. Really, he is.
I mean, for those who don't remember, like Cade Stover came in and was like a top 150 linebacker, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So no, it was a fun game, a good game to watch. It was really hard hitting though too, like really, really hard hitting. So
I love that smaller school, hard hitting stuff. That's great. Did you get to talk to him? Is he a good kid?
Yeah, Brody's a real cool kid. Got to talk to him and Cooper after the game. There was like a little circle, but obviously, like they were just talking about like kind of the coaches' brawl that just happened, like the coaches' confrontation that happened in midfield. But by all accounts, like the Gilmore kids seem like really cool kids. Obviously, Carson's a really cool kid as well. But yeah, no, some high school football. And then this Friday, Juck, we got a huge high school football game. I mean, me and you could have our own high school football network, I feel like, because we can go on and on about it. But dude, Hoban Walsh this weekend is going to be crazy.
It's going to be a banger, and it's so exciting to see the Walsh program come back. Before you were born, Walsh was fantastic, and then they went through this long drought. Now they're back. They're competing with Hoban, and they got some ballers now. Their quarterback's a stud. Milan Paris,
Keller,
a stud.
Keller's a gamer, dude.
He's a total gamer. I'm surprised that kid's not getting much love from the college ranks.
No, he's not getting a ton of love, but he's like Baker Mayfield-esque, like real, like tough, real gamer, throws a good ball, but really like a true dual threat quarterback. Like that's going to be one of the quarterbacks in Ohio that's like probably honestly the most fun to watch maybe in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a whole lot of fun. Everybody's talking about this pullover. So I got this pullover on Kris, and Caleb Downs signed this deal with Roback, right? And in the ad, this was what he was wearing. And everybody's like, I love it. I loved it too.
Yeah.
So we all go try to get the thing, and it wasn't for sale. They had all these other ones for sale. They didn't have this. So we waited. Somebody put the beacon out on Twitter that the Caleb Downs pullover is now back for sale. And there's a mad dash. I just got mine. I'm pumped. I love it. It's great. $160 for one of these things, too.
Okay, wow. Okay, Juck.
Pretty wild, man. Pretty wild, but had to have it. It
looks good. So, you look good. You look good this morning.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. You as well in your champion gear, which I'm surprised off topic that made a comeback. That was like really, really like low brand stuff when I was younger.
It was a Target brand.
And then my kids started buying this stuff a couple years ago. I'm like, why are you guys buying Champion? They're like, this is what it is, Dad. I'm like, all right. Kris, let's get to college football, bro. We had a week, dude, and this was the first week that I think gave us everything. Tons of excitement, upsets, comebacks, controversy. Like, it was all there. And I want to start with the controversy. Friday night, just one of the controversies, Miami, Virginia Tech, while you were being a stand-up Northeast Ohioan at a high school football game, I was parked on the couch watching college football, which is exactly why I hate college football on Friday, because I knew I would do this, and here I am 2 Fridays in a row. Instead of actually, remember last week we had Nebraska, Illinois on the Friday. They've delivered, right? They've definitely delivered good games. Miami, Virginia Tech also was opposite Rutgers hosting Washington, which came down to a last-second field goal. But let's start with Miami. So Miami comes out strong. They're scheming wide receivers wide open all over the field. Cam looks sharp, a lot of yards in a hurry. Virginia Tech comes back thanks to some sloppy Miami defense. Then bad Cam comes out for the first time this year. Sloppy turnovers, making some kind of boneheaded plays that he normally wouldn't. And we see the momentum kind of slowly turn to Virginia Tech. And then back to Miami. Comes down to the end of the game. Virginia Tech needs a Hail Mary. They toss it up. There's no signal. Miami storms the field. The lights go out, which we're seeing all of a sudden at every stadium when they celebrate. They're turning the lights off and on. It's terrible on TV.
That was a Bama thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so everybody's caught on to this. Everybody's doing it. They're doing it in Miami, and the lights go out, and I don't see anything but Miami running out in the field. They turn back on, and there's the ref throwing up the touchdown sign. I was in bed, bro. I hopped out of bed. I couldn't believe it. I got real close to the TV to see what exactly happened. Took the TV broadcast about 2 minutes to show us the proper angle that we could see exactly what happened. 6-minute review. I'm going to pull this up, and I want to go through this because I want to go through with everybody what the ACC is saying about this thing. But before I do, were you watching live? Did you get to catch it live? And what were your thoughts live if you got to watch it live?
I caught the whole fourth quarter live.
Okay.
And it was a whirlwind to say the least. And it goes back to like my theory, like sloppy weather just brings upsets. And even if there's not fumbles, it just feels like quarterbacks forget that they have to take care of the football when it's raining outside. And they just going to get away with anything. So it's like, rainy weather brings upsets. And I thought, okay, I thought the game was over. And then that Hail Mary got thrown. And it almost felt like I was dreaming or like not real. Because first of all, I always pray on Miami's downfall. Like I am Mr.
Yeah.
I hate Miami. Like if Miami has no haters left, it means I died. So when that ball went up, it was a weird feeling because like the camera crew wasn't even like cutting to any of the refs. And like even the announcers were like, we don't really know what happened. I mean, I don't know how whoever was up in the, in the lights section knew to turn the lights off because there was no signal. Turn the lights off, touchdown. And then literally you said 2 minutes. It felt like 20 minutes. They couldn't get us the right review. And I still never feel like I got the right review look.
Yeah. It was a bad broadcast at the end of the game. So everybody seems to be, and I think that Miami plays a part in this. Everybody was rooting for that thing to be complete and called complete. Obviously, they overturn it. People are mad, don't think that there was enough evidence to overturn it. But many of those same people also think that despite there not being enough evidence to overturn it, it was incomplete. And I guess my big question is, if you think the ball was incomplete, aren't you happy you got the right result? Because we see so many blown calls. Like, let's think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about a team losing on a Hail Mary that you don't think was a complete pass, but you'd be okay with that just to uphold the letter of the law. Like, I don't know, man, that doesn't jive with my logic, but let's look at the pass. I want you to take a look at this.
Oh yeah, let's go.
So this is the review. This is what the ACC said. So when we come down, he comes down with it. And my initial thought is he might've had possession for a second, but when we can see he hits, he doesn't maintain control. I can see it squirt out right there, plain as day. Now, right here, plays dead, right there. It's over now because the Miami player is on the line and his forearm is on the ball. So anything after this doesn't matter, inconsequential. So now the question is, did he maintain possession when he hit the ground? If we can assume he caught it, and we're just going on an assumption that he caught it and had possession. So let's say he does have possession. He hits the ground on his back, ball squirts out. Right there. You can clearly see it squirt out. To me, that's plain as day. But for some reason, I feel like I'm on an island and nobody agrees with me here.
All right, let me ask you, Juck.
Yeah.
How long after you hit the ground, or how long do you have to possess the ball? Like because it looked like the defender ripped the ball out. So like if you're on the ground, how long does the defender have to rip the ball out of your hands? Or do you think it just squirted free like he didn't rip it out?
I didn't think it ripped out. I thought it kind of popped out. And I'm assuming, and I guess this is where it comes into, well, if you're making any kind of assumptions, that's probably not enough. But my assumption on why it squirted out was probably his left arm jarred on the, coming down, kind of jarred. His elbow jars down on the ground and the ball just kind of squirts and he loses control. That's if he had control. Now, I can certainly understand the argument that there's not enough to overturn it. And we got people saying definitely a touchdown. Ryan says, I sound like a Miami fan. Ryan, I hate Miami. Listen, Michigan, Miami, USC in that order. Like, that's how bad I hate Miami. I was certainly hoping for that to be a Miami loss. There's no doubt about that. However, what I do like is things just to be right and proper. And there's right. There's a new thing floating around where people are thinking at the end of the game, when you clearly know that, like, the ref didn't know the call, right? He had to make a call because he has to make a call. What if in those situations, the ref can just defer to the booth and say, you guys clearly have the better view. I'm not going to make a call on the field to have this indisputable evidence that has to be overturned. You guys got the better view. You make the call. What would you think of something like that?
Maybe I like it. I like it, and then it's kind of just a feel thing. That feels like a slippery slope, though, doesn't it? A little bit.
A little bit, because I already heard people saying, "Well, no, we can only make this, at the left for the last play of the game." And it's like, okay, well, what if there's 3 seconds left and it's technically not the last play of the game, but really it is? You know what I mean? It is a bit of a slippery slope, but in certain situations, it's clear to us that, the ref doesn't know. Like, he's just saying something because he has to.
He's guessing.
How
do we not have a better view or camera angle of the last play of the game?
It's amazing. It really is. There was a lot of bodies, but it is amazing that they don't have a better view of it, because You would think with all the cameras, and that was a big time telecast, we would have a ton of views that could really get in there. But pretty wild play, a lot of controversy, and I loved it. And we got some more. But first, let's hit on Rutgers. I want to know, because you were on this early, the Rutgers win total this year in Vegas. What was it?
It was 5.5 some places and 6.5 other places.
And you absolutely pounded the over. I remember you talking about it nonstop. Correct. You parlayed it with a whole bunch of stuff. Definitely, they're going to hit that over. They're 4-0 now as they beat the Huskies. They come into Rutgers, the second biggest crowd ever for a game at Rutgers. And what Greg Schiano has done for the second time at Rutgers is just insane to me. Not only that, but the recruiting class that he's putting together right now, like, it's so impressive. But Washington outplayed them the whole game.
They did.
521 yards to 299 yards. They missed 3 field goals, including the one at the buzzer. Rutgers gets the win. A really exciting game in its own right. And Friday nights are delivering, dude. And that was just a precursor to an amazing weekend. But
Rutgers back-to-back weeks, Juck, has gotten outplayed. And it's concerning me because I do have the over, but I also have a couple playoff bets. But they got outplayed by Virginia Tech last week and managed to pull it out. And then this week by Washington. But they just, like, keep chopping, man. I don't know what it is. And, I mean, I saw a post. They just, like, breed Isaiah Pacheco's. Like, Monunga is so crazy. Like, but he's the Pacheco clone, just like mini Pacheco.
He really is. He really is. That's a good one. Kris, let's stick with controversy and head up to Ann Arbor. Michigan wins the game 27-24. Minnesota scores late to cut the lead to 3, and they go for an onside kick. They recover the onside kick, and they call Minnesota offsides on the onside kick. You don't usually, when they throw this flag, and I'm like, okay, it must have been blatant, because we see a lot of these dudes blatantly offsides on these things, right? We get a lot of these called back. And then they show it, and here's a picture of it for anybody who hasn't seen. This is the player that got called offsides in this game. Up here, you can see the kicker down here, and then the player right there who clearly, I mean, like, that is so close that generally not one you're going to see called. Though I did hear and I did see a picture of a guy who's blocking maybe when the ball has only gone 9 yards instead of 10, and he's already engaged his block. So that technically might have been able to be called as well. And
that's a different call, though.
It is. So it's kind of hard to say that. But just as far as that call goes, let's hear what Chris Peterson had to say.
And Minnesota probably could have tied this game had they gotten the right call, but they got kind of jilted, I would say,
there's
on that onside kick there.
There's no kind of. Yeah. I'm sick to my stomach right now. I really am. I mean, I just hate to see this when the officials are making something up. Like, I don't know why they would throw that flag. And to me, like, it was like, these are always close calls, but like that ball's kicked. Like, that's not agreed. What are we doing? Like, let the kids play. And, you know, we'd always say one play is never going to lose you the game. One play can win you the game. But when it comes down to an official's call, like, you know how hard it is to execute an onside kick and get it? I think it's like less than 10%.
That is about as strong as you'll ever hear a coach come out against an official on one of those things, particularly a really classy guy like him. He's mad. And there is a lot of people talking this week about the Miami call with the ACC, about that call with the Big Ten, that they're protecting their bigs, you know? I don't know, man. I've never been one who buys into this a lot, but you do have gambling has gotten a lot bigger. Whole lot of this floating around. What's your take on any of that? What's your take on that call by itself?
An egregious call, and it's like not created equally, right? Because like if Minnesota recovers that onside kick, they don't win the game, but if they don't get it, they absolutely lose the game. So I think if it's that close, you just, to me, he's onside. It's like, like have Minnesota get the ball there, and it's Michigan's defense, and Michigan has a chance to right their wrongs right there, or Minnesota has a chance to go score, and then you go from there. I hated the call because it didn't need to be made, and it felt like a moment where a ref was just inserting himself when he didn't need to. right?
I agree.
Like late in games, like you only call egregious pass interferences on Hail Marys, right? Like you never call it because like unless it's someone getting put in a chokehold and slammed to the ground, don't call it. Like if it's a holding late game or a PI late game, like let the kids play and then go from there. It just felt like that ref hadn't thrown a flag in a while, so let's get this sucker out and throw it. It definitely, that one made it look like Michigan was being protected, especially because like you threw the flag so early. And if you would have just paid attention to the whole play, you could have got a different call later, I guess. I don't know.
Which there might have been. But no, I think you're right. A bogus call for sure, but not a game ender. Michigan still could have stopped them. It never it does seem to happen often up at Michigan. When they definitely seem to get the benefit of the doubt a lot in situations like that. And who knows, maybe we do too. If you're looking on the opposite side, looking in, I could see maybe people think that as well about the Buckeyes. They certainly maybe got away with a face mask on a turnover from Taiwan Malone in the game at Michigan State. It looked like he was maybe had control of the face mask on the play that Lathan punched the ball out, which was an amazing play by Lathan. But we'll get to that. I want to go down to Oxford, Mississippi, where Mark Stoops and the Kentucky Wildcats went in and really flat out played Ole Miss. They just flat out played them. Ole Miss, 300 less yards than their average against that Kentucky defense, which we can officially say is really legit. In the end, they end up hanging close. They miss a field goal late. Ole Miss does to try to win it.
Wet field goal attempts, man.
Yeah. That is Kentucky's highest road ranked win since 1977. And I'm so happy about this, dude. Like, I've not been a huge believer in this Ole Miss team. And I know that Lane Kiffin has become like kind of like one of people's favorites in college football now. But I remember still when you were like 10 or 14 years old, when he was young, and he was such a little nepo hire punk. And we still see that come out sometimes. I'll never like this guy. I love watching him lose. And Mark Stoops, the winningest coach in Kentucky football history, never gets the appropriate credit to me. An Ohio guy, I was thrilled about this game.
Man, Kentucky plays everybody so tight. And like I had Ole Miss as kind of my little SEC dark horse. But Kentucky, they play their style. They play at their pace, and they don't let anybody change them or speed them up. It's kind of crazy to watch. And now it makes you wonder, like, how good is this Kentucky team really? Like, how good are they, Juck?
It's confusing.
That's a really good Ole Miss team. And that Kentucky team hung with Georgia, probably outplayed them most of the game.
It makes Georgia's hanging with them, which looked like a real kind of bad mark on that team. It makes that look not nearly as bad. It also makes that South Carolina win at Kentucky look a hell of a lot better. Kris, Ole Miss heads to South Carolina this weekend.
They do. They're in danger. They're in some real danger, and they got to make sure they stop the bleeding because South Carolina has such an elite pass rush. They could ruin anybody's game plan. Just based off defensive line alone. Like, that's how disruptive they are up front. I mean, obviously, we know about Dylan Stewart, but they get creative. They run twist. I mean, they just create so much chaos on the D line that if you're not ready and not on your P's and Q's, it could end up really like setting your game plan backwards a little bit. Is Sellers back though, or is that going to be Robbie Ashford again?
I think he's going to be back. It was just an ankle. I don't know how bad the ankle was, but I do think he'll probably be back in action. And
Robbie Ashford's also a big-time athlete, though. That's the kid that had, I think he had like 305 touchdowns, the former Auburn backup quarterback that should have been starting there, but that's neither here nor there. But they're athletic and mobile quarterbacks, man. Mobile quarterbacks can ruin a defensive game plan, and a disruptive pass rush can ruin an offensive game plan. So I would probably take Ole Miss in that game, but they're in danger to go back-to-back losses.
I'll tell you what, though, it's an exciting one. All of a sudden, a game that I normally wouldn't have been excited about. That one has now got some serious juice to it. Let's talk about Auburn. So Oklahoma coming off their embarrassing loss at home to Tennessee. They go in to Auburn, missing a ton of guys. We went over that injury report on Friday. Yeah. Michael Hawkins getting his first start for OU, and Hugh Freeze ends up going back to Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne said earlier in the week, Kris, that he was not concerned with his interceptions because the interceptions that he threw, like, they weren't egregious. You trying to make a play or what have you. I don't know how he explained it, but he wasn't concerned.
Weird.
Yeah. So the Tigers were up 21-16, 4 minutes left, ball on the 50, trying to go ahead and kick a field goal and make it an 8-point game. Peyton Thorne throws it directly to the linebacker, and he takes it back 63 yards to give the Sooners the lead and the win. And just like Hugh Freeze, or just like Lane Kiffin, I feel the same about Hugh Freeze. Love watching this guy lose. Love watching the turmoil that Auburn's in. Auburn outplayed Oklahoma. Like, they straight up outplayed them the whole game. And again, these turnovers just keep killing him. It's too good to see because he had an opportunity to get a quarterback and he didn't.
He had a chance to get a quarterback, chose not to. That's arrogance. Had a chance to start Robbie Ashford, who didn't think he was going to get a fair shot at that quarterback battle, so went to South Carolina. And then your super duper senior quarterback had a chance to slam the door on a game, which is what veteran quarterbacks are supposed to do, right, Juck? Vet quarterbacks are supposed to shut doors on games. Instead, throws the game away. Said, yeah, we don't want this. You guys can have it. And, I mean, the Hawkins kid, they're down 5 receivers and one or two offensive linemen in his first start, and he guts it out.
Credit
Jackson Dart's gonna make $700,000 in the portal next year for sure.
That 2-point conversion by Hawkins was really slick too. He did he got the helicopter hit going on, the old Elway helicopter hit.
He's got like Braxton middle level like twitchiness.
It's twitchy, yeah. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch for sure. Curt Cignetti, we talked about Indiana. They end up whooping on Maryland, 5-0 for the first time since 1967. Their first 5-game win streak in 37 years. In the dude's first year there, they're amazing. He's amazing. They're going to win 9 games this year. I'm pretty much convinced of it. The only tough game, it's crazy. They got Ohio State and Michigan, so unlucky, that they got that draw. And then they got Nebraska. Other than that, they're rolling everybody else.
Do they have Rutgers or no?
I think so. I do think so. But I think at this point, they're going to be favored in every game aside from Ohio State.
2, maybe 3.
And maybe Nebraska. Who knows? By the time they play, they might actually be favored. But
now this is perfect for Cignetti. And, I know they're unlucky drawing Michigan and Ohio State. But if you're Indiana, I think it's a good chance to kind of see where you are.
It really is.
See where you are, see what it looks like, see what it feels like. And really, Cignetti being as good as he is has to take a little bit of the sting off of DeBoer not being the head coach there.
It's true. It's true. I would be thrilled if I was an Indiana fan. They've had, obviously they've had so little to root for in my entire lifetime. Once in a while they'll pop up and have a decent season, but with this guy, it almost feels like he's trying to build something there and he wants to be there. He was engaging with the students, sent him an email. It's really cool. USC has their first Big Ten home game. Wisconsin comes to town. Wisconsin's been playing terrible. They jump out. They lead at halftime, 21-10. They've been so disappointing. I was really happy to see this. Was hoping they could keep it up. USC puts the pedal to the metal, goes on a 28-0 run, and ends up winning 38-21. Any thoughts on that one? It was kind of a snoozer in the second half.
Man, Wisconsin punched him in the mouth. So, credit to Lincoln Riley. I feel like Lincoln Riley's teams have passed when they get punched in the mouth. They would just fold up like a lawn chair, one of the cheap ones. And they didn't. Miller Moss is a tough cookie. Took some shots in that game. But no, I've been disappointed with Wisconsin because I thought they would be on the same trajectory as Nebraska at this point.
Yep, me too.
Matt Rule and Luke got hired the same year, and to me, same trajectory, and I wanted them to kind of be the class of Tier 2 Big Ten. And Wisconsin just hasn't been that. And I thought they had a chance to get a win, get some momentum, but things did not go that way.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Oklahoma State, they were in the Big 12 championship last year. This year, one of the favorites, along with Kansas State, along with Utah. The Big 12 has been turned upside down. So Kansas State beats Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State now with 2 conference losses. Kansas State with 1 conference loss. Ollie Gordon, fourth game without 100 yards, which he's supposed to be their superstar back. They bench Alan Bowman throws a couple picks again after being benched last week. That's Oklahoma State's 27-year-old quarterback, and I love rooting against these 27-year-old quarterbacks.
He just hit a milestone, Juck. 10,000 yards passing.
Good for him. Good for him. And his this is just insane, dude. This is insane. These professional college quarterbacks. I cannot stand it. So he gets benched. Said it was a good reset for him, and he comes out and lays another egg. Avery Johnson looked really good. He's coming along, man. He's coming along, and he can play some bad games and then put up some really good games as well. He's an exciting player.
I like Avery, man. He's so even keeled too for a young quarterback. I think that's big time. And the fact that they got him ready so quickly is I'm a big fan of. He looks and feels the part. I think next year they're gonna be super, super dangerous. This year it feels like they're still figuring out what their potential could be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Kris, Colorado with their most impressive win in the Deion era.
4-1.
I mean, they were 14-point dogs. They've got a legit shot, I think, when you look at the Big 12 with Utah getting upset and Kansas being terrible all of a sudden, Oklahoma State not in it. Like the favorites of the conference, I mean, it's all up for grabs now. And that was an impressive win. I thought that UCF was going to run the ball all over them. They didn't, which was most impressive because I wasn't expecting that Colorado defense to bow up like that. They're starting to look like a team, like a real team. And, props to them. I'm not happy about it, but it makes for some more exciting matchups later. Of course, I'm a super hater of the Colorado program.
I don't know what to make of this Colorado team because I know they were underdogs in this game and ended up winning big. But I still don't think that they're even like a tier 2 Big 12 team, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think they're a top 3 team in the Big 12?
No, but I still think they got a path.
4?
I don't know, man. It's hard to identify what I think of this team. I just
because like Arizona beats them, right? Kansas State.
They just beat Utah.
Yeah, Kansas State beats them. Utah beats them. I would have said UCF beats them, but obviously, like, they don't. Like, do you think Kansas beats them?
I would have. If they play like they played Saturday, I think they can beat any one of those teams. Like, I think their best when they're clicking can really stack up to any of those teams because I don't think any of them are that good.
What did their run game do? And because that's what I think bugs me about them as well. I don't think they will ever slam doors on teams because of that run game. And
they definitely were trying to run the ball more. That's for sure. Like, they've been challenged. Like, if you're going to beat us, you're going to need to run the ball on us. And they've not been doing it. They seem to embrace it a little more. Dallin Hayden got a touchdown. Good for our guy, the guy who made the weirdest transfer decision in the entire portal. Kris, a big story last week. UNLV, the quarterback leaves UNLV, and then UNLV promptly comes out and whoops their man, beats Fresno State, gets themselves ranked in the top 25. Guess who they got this week? Kyle McCord and the Syracuse Orangemen on Friday night, nationally televised. I can't wait.
Hey, that backup quarterback is better than the main quarterback.
Without a doubt.
Malik Williams, I mean, I think he had 4 touchdowns.
He was pretty good.
119 yards on the ground and 182 yards passing, averaging 10 yards a carry. He's way better than that, than the Sluck dude they had there. He's way better.
That guy sucked.
He's terrible. I mean, this is like a big blessing in disguise for UNLV. And then Syracuse, man, out in Vegas.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to be watching. Who you got,
though? Who you got in that game?
I'm going to go with Syracuse.
Me too. I don't know anything about UNLV. I'm not going to even pretend to lie. Only reason I know about them now is because of their whole quarterback situation. Like I'm
not going to pretend to be in on UNLV. I have no idea. Kris, the Ducks, we got them in 2 weeks. They go on the road, their first ever Big Ten road game to UCLA. And I want to talk about how pathetic the UCLA fan base is for a second here. I want to show you this video here. This is a video from my buddy Ryan Winters, an Oregon guy, does a podcast. I've been on his show. Like your home stadium is the Rose Bowl. Okay. You've got tarps because you can't sell the end zone seats. The whole place was like that, Kris. The announced attendance was 41,000. 10,000 of them were Oregon fans, without a doubt. I don't think there was 41 in the stadium, and neither do I think any of the people who were there.
No, I've seen how these stadiums do stuff like that. They fluff the numbers. I've been a part of those meetings.
You got a top 10 team loaded with future NFL talent coming in. You just got gifted in by virtue of your affiliation with USC into the Big Ten because they're in LA with you. And you can't get more than 20,000 people to your game. This was a horrible addition to the Big Ten. I don't want to hear about basketball. Horrible addition. I can't stand it. It's absolute garbage. A total embarrassment. But the Ducks, not looking so hot, man. They're very blah.
UCLA better make the damn Final Four this year, Juck. I'm just saying. Hey, UCLA better make the Final Four, man, because they look like a minor league football team out there. But also, like, I'm just waiting for Oregon to, like, put the pressure on and, like, show us that they're a legit contender. And they just look lackadaisical, like, no matter what. Like, they're just not the Oregon that we thought we were going to get. Like, Oregon the last 2 years, they've had so much juice.
Mm-hmm.
Where did it go? Yeah. Who drank it?
My buddy,
it's not there. It's not there anymore.
No. And their fans are salty. Like my buddy Max Torres from On3 was at the game, and he just said to me, it's a very uninspiring, underwhelming team. That's where they're at right now. And I can also say Gabriel's line, 31 for 41 for 278 and 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, he is just blah, everything about him. Their fans were all over this show, Kris. Like all off season, talking a lot. They're much more respectful than like the USC or Michigan folks. So I didn't mind them, but they have kind of disappeared recently. They're not around.
They know what's coming, man. They know what's coming. We quacked a good amount. Maybe it's time for us to slow our roll. Now they just don't look like the team we thought we were getting when they joined the Big Ten, like at all.
I'm surprised.
And you would think, like, usually when you see teams that have bad performances early in the year, you see like them really catch fire and get it going. Because it's almost like a challenge, like to play with a chip on their shoulders.
Yeah,
it feels like Oregon has every reason to play with a chip on their shoulder, and yet we're still getting the same product we got earlier in the year. And it's
especially, Kris, because nobody got disrespected in the rankings like them over wins, right? Like nobody else really got thrown because the traditional blue bloods or the bigger name programs who've been around a long time, they tend to get more respect even in close ones when it comes to those rankings. Oregon just got tossed way down immediately after the Idaho game, after the Boise game. Now they've slowly inched their way back up, which they probably deserve. I think they're at 6 in the new one, but I'm feeling a whole lot different about the Buckeyes heading out there than I was originally. Like this to me looks still like a tough game, but I don't have that trepidation that I did in the offseason about that game.
Can I ask you a question, Juck?
Yeah.
Who would you take on a neutral site today, Ole Miss or Oregon?
I think I would take Oregon.
Okay. It's a good question though. It's like one of those ones that I've been thinking about all morning. I think I would also take Oregon, but I don't know.
It's a tough one. Going back to Ole Miss, they haven't played anybody yet. Wake Forest was their best win. I just don't know if maybe we just weren't overrating what they could be, and maybe they're not all that. We thought that offense would be dynamic. Kentucky just made them look bad, dude. It was,
they did, but also like Kentucky's really tough defensively. Like Kentucky's probably better than Oregon is defensively.
Yeah, they are better than Oregon defensively. So I'm going to give Ole Miss some more points in that hypothetical matchup. But I don't know why. Maybe it's just the last couple of years, but I just feel like at some point this Oregon offense is going to come to life, and it's going to look more like the last couple editions. You got such a great receiving core. Like the pieces are there. The backs are good. Gabriel, he's accurate. I don't know if they're not challenging him enough, or I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem right. Earlier, you talked about swallowing your whistle. So the Notre Dame-Louisville game, which was Notre Dame's really their last test until the final game of the year against USC, Louisville is at about the 50, 4th and 1. They got to go down and score. They get a false start, and the very next play, it's 4th and 6. He chucks it downfield into double coverage, and I want to show you this picture here that some people were very unhappy about. It did not get called a PI. Where is that son of a gun? So this is a perfect case. You got the Notre Dame defender. The ball ends up, 10 yards past where they're at, but he clearly had a chunk of his shoulder pad. He's inhibiting where he can go. It didn't get as much run as the other two games, but I think it would have gotten a lot had the other two controversies not happened in the Minnesota game, in the Miami game. But, they swallowed their whistle on this one at Notre Dame, which, again, another home team that gets the benefit of the doubt late in the game. Kris, Ashton Genty went off again, dude.
Dude, he's unreal, Juck.
This guy's legit. I mean, he is absolutely legit. And Boise is looking like a pretty good team. And again, looking back at that Oregon game with them, and you could just get the sense from Dan Lanning in the press conference after that game, it was way different than the Idaho game. Like he felt like they beat a good team. And the more Boise keeps playing, I think they are pretty damn good.
Dude, he's got 845 yards through 4 games. 845 yards and 13 touchdowns. I would take that in a whole season.
Yeah.
Like he's ridiculous.
He is. All right, let's get to the big banger and then some Buckeye stuff. First, I want to show you the intro. This is Big Rock Hill's video. Man, the atmosphere was off the hook. The game was, I could not believe the start of this game. I couldn't believe how good Milroe looked. I think that was probably the best game we've ever seen out of him. I'm so impressed at what Kalen DeBoer has done with him. Alabama is, I'll stick with the game right now. Obviously, they jump out to a huge lead. Kalen DeBoer is running circles around Kirby Smart. And I get on here and do the post-game show for the Buckeyes, Kris. I was done watching the game. To me, it was over. And I'm talking to the chat, and they're like, Juck, it's a one-score game now. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I pull it up in the post-game show, and we watched the rest of the game together from there. A game response by the Dogs. I thought Bama made some mistakes letting them get back into that thing, but I don't have any doubts that Bama is the better team. Like that's even though it ended up, close and they hit that awesome pass to Ryan Williams to take the lead again. Bama's the better team of those two. I think it's pretty clear.
What do you think about Ryan Williams?
I knew we were going to have this talk. Listen, I was excited to ask you this. So Ryan Williams reminds me of maybe not a more athletic. He's a better gifted receiver than JMO was, but he reminds me. It's similar to JMO. He's a big threat. He's a downfield guy. He's a guy that makes some big plays. The comps between him or Jeremiah. Like, is anybody taking? If you're a coach, are you taking Ryan Williams over Jeremiah? Like, I think if you lined up 10 coaches and asked them that question, all 10 would go with Jeremiah. He does it all. He's bigger and stronger. Ryan Williams, not taking anything away from him. He's excellent. The body control he showed on that 75-yarder was ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. And then the speed, the quickness with that he hit max speed, it was amazing.
I've never seen a play like that play.
It was wild.
To go up, snag, while spinning, keep both feet in bounds. You don't have the angle. You spin like a half hop spin, then full spin.
Yeah.
And then accelerate. Wild. I mean, this is like, it's like LeBron and Curry, right? This debate's going to end up being like prime Julio Jones versus prime Antonio Brown.
I mean, you're right. It's definitely the start of something. And when we look at the other freshmen, wide receivers, the Cam Colemans and the Ryan Wingos, and that list goes on. Kris, this goes back to my Cris Carter argument, man.
Yeah,
my
dude.
Cris Carter argument. Like, these dudes have been trained since they were 10 years old to be absolute robots, and they're amazing now. They're all amazing. You got 5 dudes right now that are freshman wide receivers in college that look better than the best 10% have for, I don't know, the last 15 years. Like, they're coming. They keep coming. It's just insane.
It's like we used to get boy wonder quarterbacks, like when we had like T-Law, Justin Fields, like those guys that had like a full cycle, like 10 years training to be quarterbacks come up. It's like we're now seeing that with wide receivers. And you see you've seen it with baseball players like the last 15 years, like, because obviously you can play baseball younger than you can play football. It's like over the last like 10 years, you've started to get like these guys that like are just ascending and like pushing the sport way beyond where we've seen it before. And we're starting to see that with receivers coming up now too.
Yeah. But the Ryan Williams, Jeremiah debate will rage on. I do still think ultimately, like, if you're a coach of a team, and I'm trying to be as objective as I can here, it's just, I don't know how anybody could choose Ryan Williams over Jeremiah. Don't.
I'll push back. It's just because
Explain.
He just went for one. Like, think about like the all-time great performances you've seen against Georgia secondaries. And up there would probably be the Marv game. This Ryan Williams game was better than the Marv game. And so like to your point, yeah, like physically, like bigger, stronger, like better blocker. But like, is Jeremiah gonna take over a game the same? Like, does Jeremiah take over that game the same way Ryan Williams takes over that game?
Probably not. But throughout the course of the game, he's going to make it so I'm not in that spot.
That's fair. It feels like Jeremiah Smith is the wear you down body puncher, and that's great.
But let's also say, what's Jeremiah look like with Carson Beck instead of
or with Milroe? With Milroe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're not getting to see the downfield ball. Like, Milroe's an amazing downfield thrower as well. Like, that's one of his strengths, and we're not seeing those shots to Jeremiah yet. Like,
no, we're not. Like the deep ball. You're right. I would take Jeremiah over Ryan Williams. I just won't fault anybody for like saying they would take Ryan Williams. Like, the kid's 17 years old, like supposed to be still in high school, supposed to be playing on Friday nights right now, reclassed to get in this class, and just again, like a Kirby Smart defense, and a 17-year-old goes in there and gives you 10 for 177 and the game-winning touchdown. Like,
he's ridiculous. But I just want to add, Kris, like, I've had enough of that. He's 17 years old. Jeremiah is 18 years old, bro. Like, Come on now. What are we talking about?
I guess the point, like, it's not quite the age thing. I think it's the fact that like he didn't come in early, right? Like, he came in early, but not early. Because like here we go. If Sonny Styles at age 17 was the best defender on our defense, I think you would have got that same thing.
Yeah.
And whenever you see a kid reclass and then get there early and like start day one and like take over, to me, it's like really alarming. Because it looks like that kid hasn't worked on his body at all. Like,
that's
that kid
true.
looks like he looks like, you know what, like me without putting on all this muscle, I'm still able to just destroy this Georgia secondary. And it's just alarming. I mean, because I think about the other 17-year-old, to me at least. Here we go. This is like a deep cut for you. I think about the best 17-year-olds to ever put together a season, and like I didn't think anybody would ever top the Braylon Allen 17-year-old season.
Okay.
He came in early. You know what he came in as?
What?
A linebacker.
Really?
And all the running backs got in trouble or hurt. And so in fall camp, they were like, hey, like, do you want to play running back? He made the switch and then gave you 1,500 yards on the ground in the Big Ten. And I'm like, okay, like, that's one-on-one. Like, we'll never see a 17-year-old season like that one. And so I'm so enamored by Ryan Williams because he's doing it, and I don't know how polished of a receiver he is.
It's a great
he's just
point.
doing it off the strength of athleticism, and that's it. To me, it looks like.
Yeah, I think this is it might be a situation where my homerism, like even as you're saying this, like I can feel myself just getting red inside. Like, I don't like him getting the shine that should all be going to Jeremiah because, well, I'm just a homer, and that's what it is. Jeremiah will be better, and I'll choose him. And moving on to the big Buckeyes game as the Bucks beat Sparty 38-7. Kris, a lot of people irritated in the post-game show. I was surprised. I was surprised again for the second week in a row about the fan reaction to this game. Because again, I generally feel like I'm usually with the majority on my thoughts on the game. There were so many people that were so mad. Now, watching the game in the first half, I felt like we were going to have a bad post-game show and people were going to be pissed, and I was pissed too. And the way it ended, like everything changed. And then it was like, you got a situation where this Buckeye team can come out and they can make mistakes and just be so much better that they can wear you out and turn a game into a total blowout. And that's a strength while you continue to work on the things you need to improve. Like, that's an incredible strength to be able to just grind you out. Like, Michigan State quit. And by the way, a pretty game Michigan State team. Like, that was impressive. I did not expect, obviously we know we're going to get everybody's best shot.
Yeah.
They were impressive, dude. Like Jonathan Smith, we've heard a lot about. We've seen him at Oregon State. What's he going to do in the Big Ten? Like, this dude's impressive. That team was impressive. And I think at the end of the season, that win's going to look even more impressive. What was your initial reaction to the game?
I think Jonathan Smith is going to have this program in a good place in a couple of years. That number 7 kid for them is outrageous. That linebacker.
Oh yeah.
Like he's outrageous. Like I'm looking at him and I'm like, I want Arvo Reese to be like that, like be on that track by the time we're done here. And I think he probably has a shot and probably will be better. But no, I think it's a good reminder that every rep in the Big Ten is likely going to be pretty competitive because you're going to get everybody's best. And so, like, every play is not going to look the prettiest. Every play is not going to work exactly how you drew it up because, again, conference play naturally is competitive and you're dealing with a wet ball, wet field. Like, Big Ten ball is competitive. And I think, like, we expect to treat every school like a MAC school until you face the Michigans, the Oregons, the USCs. Well, that's not the case, especially in transfer portal era when guys from smaller schools can come up to play at P5 schools. You're just going to get competitive reps and guys trying to win. So I think Ohio State put together a pretty good game. I wish they would have leaned on the run game a little bit more, but I'm not irritated at all by this game.
That was actually one of your things. You wanted to see a
commitment,
ground game momentum. Stick to the ground game momentum. What I find interesting,
it's so easy to run the ball when you're running for 6-7 a pop. Like, yeah. I don't want you to abandon the run game, like, because you get a couple 1-yarders here and there. Like, no, stick with it, wear them down, keep it going. Like, I think the recipe for this Ohio State team to win natties does not involve Will Howard throwing 33 passes in 3 quarters, especially when Trey's averaging 10 a carry.
I was surprised. It seemed to me like they came out with the intent that they were going to throw. With the weather, with everything else, I was like, "What's going on?" Because I'm sitting here looking at all the notes we had going into the game, and like, man, I expected to see a big time ground game. I think we only had between Quinn and Trey maybe like 17 attempts, which was wild because they both look really on point. Like they both look they were running great. One of my things was I wanted to see a good game out of the offensive line. I thought that their pass protection looked really good. I think they did a great job. The run blocking, so-so. Individual performances, I don't like to get into too much until I see the end zone view. That'll be out later today in the coach's room. If anybody doesn't check that out, man, awesome product that is available over at Menace to Sports on the website. To be able to see that end zone view, to be able to, listen to a coach break those plays down where everybody should be going,
right?
Where the breakdowns are, it's excellent. But Josh Fryer had a rough game. There's no doubt about that. Seth McLaughlin, Josh Simmons had amazing games. I thought Austin Saravel really is starting to show that he might be the dude at right guard over Tegra.
I'm almost there, because Tegra, I feel like, will give you some like really big time athleticism, like really big time like mash somebody plays. But Austin is just so steady, and I think for offensive linemen, like great, your ceiling is great, but just give me steady. Like, that's why I love Seth McLaughlin in the middle. He's so steady. He's going to be a B+ center every game, and I'm almost there with Austin.
You wanted to see more sacks. The Buckeyes got 4 sacks on the game. JT had one hell of a bull rush.
Yeah.
Sonny got one on a blitz. Mitchell Melton had 1.5. And then CJ Hicks ended up catching a half a sack. Especially without Tyleek, I thought this was very impressive.
Michigan State's the first team that kind of like challenged their defensive line, like with some of the drop back stuff, with the true pass game stuff, with maybe not getting the ball out quick. And I'm glad this defense made him pay for that. And they had some pivotal sacks and some big moments, like a strip sack down in the red zone, like to kind of, halt the drive and take momentum away. I like where this D line is, and I love Caden Curry, dude. Again, just my eyes just go to him every game. I love Caden Curry.
He ended up catching 19 snaps, which was the same as Kenyatta. And last week, Kenyatta had 7 more than Caden and Mitchell Melton. So maybe that gap might be closing there, which would be interesting. I know that he's we talked about him on Friday's show, and he's someone that you really like to see.
I like raw meat eaters on my D line.
That's right. You want the raw meat. You want the raw meat eaters. Another on your wish list was turnovers. We got the turnover train pumping again. Not just Denzel's pick, which was a bit of a gift. By the way, he looks awesome with the ball in his hands, doesn't he?
He does.
I love seeing that.
I'm mad at Zell because I had a parlay, and it was Alabama money line, Milroe anytime touchdown, and Ohio State defense touchdown. And I thought he was going to turn the Jets on.
I did
Make
too.
somebody
I did
miss.
too. Well, he was too busy looking hot with the high step, and he looked good. He looked cool, right? But
yeah, man.
The 2 big turnovers were, Lathan punching the ball out, Hancock stripping the ball. Like, these plays these are things they're working on. Like, this is really good. They made an emphasis in the offseason to get more turnovers. They're clearly working on it and stressing it. This is repeatable stuff. Like, I love to see those kinds.
Lathan and that punch is becoming a staple, man. He's kind of got that down. Like, that's what, 2 or 3 straight games that we've seen that from him.
That is so hard to do. The timing,
he's Peanut Tillman, man. He's real good at it, though, dude. It's like, it just adds to the value. It's like, Lathan, like, what are you going to add to your bag to make you more valuable, man? That's kind of a weapon. Like, now, I find myself like, when Lathan's there, it's every time looking for that punch, and he's going to get you one. And it feels like that's a play in a big game that's really going to matter for Ohio State. And that's what you want. Like, how can I get the edge in big games? And Lathan, that almost makes him even more of a weapon.
For sure. Kris, Juck Guy of the Week on defense, Caleb Downs. What a performance. I've been waiting for that one. The skill is undeniable. We finally got to see it all come together. They let him run downhill. He's amazing. Like, he is just like, he's just a missile, and he always closes. 100% sure tackler. It's so fun to see, dude. I wish we could see more of that. But that was really fun to see him break out. And on offense, obviously, JJ's performance, I almost feel like talking about it is like worthless. Like, we all know what it is. You know what I mean?
Took over a drive, man, with those 2 ridiculous catches.
he killed them. Like their will to fight was over at that point. And the linebackers, we've talked about it for weeks now. Sonny played his worst game. It was worse than the Marshall game. I don't know how you give him 42 snaps. Arvell gets 19 snaps, and Arvell's snaps were all in the 3 linebacker set, which they shouldn't even be playing anymore. I was wrong. I thought that would be something that would be good to play this year, but that's when I thought that they weren't fibbing to us about CJ Hicks finally clicking and finally getting it, and Sonny Styles really coming around. And linebackers might end up being a strength on this team. It's clear that that's not the case. You shouldn't be running 3 linebackers.
I don't think Sonny's good enough for him to be the reason why we're running 3 linebackers, and that pains me to say because I love Sonny.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. Sonny right now is not one of our best 11, and he might get there by the end of the year. And so I'm with him, continuing to get a lot of reps and growing and moving forward. And because I think that by the end of the year, you're going to need the best version of Sonny athletically to go up against the Georgias, the Bamas of the world. But right now it's tough for me to defend him. It's hard because he just has not been great.
Conversely, Kris, Arvell, again, in the top 5. I'll just pull this up here for everybody to see. So here's your top 4 PFF rated guys. And this is all very evident on the field as well, that Caleb and Jordan and Caden Curry and Arvell all played really well. You look at your fellas on the bottom, and you got the same guys on the bottom every week. Look, CJ Hicks, the fact that CJ Hicks is getting 18 snaps in a game, the same as Arvell Reese, is an absolute embarrassment. By the way, Gabe Powers should be getting all those reps CJ's getting because they're wasted.
Yeah.
But Sonny getting 42 reps to Arvell's 19 is absolutely absurd. It's absurd at this point. I don't know what's going on here. Your best 2 linebackers are Cody and Arvell. If you got to move Cody from Mike over to Will to make that happen, you're about to play Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska, and Penn State. What are we doing here? James isn't doing what he said he was going to do. How many weeks are we going to say the same thing? Kris, there was a 4-play stretch to start that game where Sonny missed. He lost on his assignment 4 straight plays.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing. And again, I don't want to come on here and make it sound like I'm ragging on Sonny. He's trying his best. I'm pissed at the coach not putting the best guys out there. He ain't ready for this, dude.
No, he's not better than Cody. He's not better than Arvell. And I'd rather have because I'd rather keep as many secondary members out there as possible if we're gonna have 2 linebackers.
Absolutely.
I like having Jordan out there. I like having Lathan out there. I like having Caleb out there. I like playing 3 safeties or whatever you want to call them. And I just don't see Sonny being that much better than anybody else to where you make an adjustment to your whole defensive lineup to have him out on the field. I just don't see it.
IGB with a really poor game. Are you concerned at all? Do you want to see more Jermaine Matthews?
I wanted to ask you that because I actually don't know. I don't know if I want to see more Jermaine Matthews because I think IGB is good in the run game. I think he's a good enough corner. But I was going to ask you, do you think come Oregon, are we going to have to, I guess, not play Igbinosun, you think?
It's a good question. I definitely am in the camp of I do want to see more Jermaine Matthews because I do feel that Jermaine Matthews is – I'm really high on IGB, and his skill set's very unique for a corner.
He looks like Sean Wade to me, man, and so I like him. I like him out there.
But I think Jermaine, every time he's in, has played really well, and I think
he's a glove, man. That's like white on rice.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that should be in there more, whether it's situational, whatever it is. I want to see more Jermaine Matthews rotating in.
Same.
Opposite Denzel. So that's where I'm at with that, but not concerned about IGB playing a lousy game. You're going to look at that film. You're going to make some corrections. I don't know why he's playing so far off the line. That one touchdown, that he was damn near on the goal line, and I don't know what's going on with that. Like, there's a lot of things. And Kris, I don't want to hear this. They're playing bend, don't break in the first half. No, that's not what that was. They were getting gashed, and they got some clutch turnovers. That's not the same thing as playing as bend, don't break.
Yeah,
that's not the same thing. They got gashed. They made adjustments. Knowles was slow to adjust again, which we talked about Friday. They got some things to work on. But again, I'm happy that you're able to get through a game, play like that, have some things to work on that you know you need to work on, and still be able to stomp someone out because you're that much better. Like, that makes me confident.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like now we're really nitpicking things compared to like previous years. I feel like, and that's good because obviously like we're getting ready for like the elite teams. This team was getting gashed. It didn't really feel like bend not break. I mean, Michigan State came out early with some things. I don't know how much I put that on the script or how much that's just on, our defense not doing their part. The cushion thing is always confusing to me. I'm going to ask Zach about it when he gets in here today, just because I am curious why the cushion's been there. Because it feels like teams are just taking like the easy access stuff, and that's how they're hurting us. So I don't know. I hope that you get a more tightened up version of this Ohio State defense, like for the next 2 weeks, because this is when it really picks up. Like you said, it's been a slow on ramp. And like as this slow on ramp is gone, it feels like we've gotten like more competitive games and more competitive reps. Next week's going to be really competitive reps, I think, at least for one side of the ball. And then in 2 weeks, it's going to be hyper competitive, man, a really, really important national landscape challenge.
I want to ask you one more question, then I'm going to get you out of here. I appreciate you sticking on so long today. There are a lot of fans I have seen after the weekend who are very much concerned. They're looking at Alabama, they're looking at Georgia and saying, if this game was right now between Ohio State and either one of them, I don't think we got a shot. I don't see it this way at all.
We beat Georgia bad.
I'm convinced of that 100%. And Bama, if Milroe plays his best game ever like he did against Georgia, we might have a problem. I'll concede that. I don't see that as being something that will be repeated often. I really like the way we match up with both of these teams.
Yeah, no, I think we whoop on Georgia. Bama's a tougher one because like, mobile quarterbacks, hyper athletic quarterbacks are always tricky and they can gash you down the field. But we beat Georgia by multiple scores, and we are in a probably pretty close competitive game with Bama. I would pick us in both though.
I would too, and against Texas as well. But that's just I just saw some people saying
I don't believe in Texas the way everybody else does.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you as far as that goes. All right, brother. Any parting words?
I don't really have any parting words. Can't wait for high school football this week, I guess. I can't wait for Friday. Hoban Walsh. It's on my mind, man. It's on my mind. Iowa has a bye week, so they got 2 weeks to get ready for this Ohio State offense. Quick note, don't forget about that. So it might look clunky. I'm ready for the complainers, though, because it's going to look clunky to start against Iowa, and I'm ready for what that means for the social media.
That's what Iowa is. We're just going to need to accept that one. Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks so much.
Yep, I'll talk to you.
All right, later, buddy. And that is our buddy Kris Drew. Always a good discussion. And what a week of college football we had. We're going to hit on a couple of comments. I got to go through a couple of I think I had some more this is the meme Kris was talking about last week on Friday for anybody who didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He was saying the tight ends on this team stick out like a sore thumb, and he compared them to this dragon meme. So that's the meme he was talking about, the tight ends all the way on the right. And I was very confused and didn't have enough time to get into it with Kris. But when you look at the snaps for the tight ends, G. Scott 19 against Marshall goes up to 32 snaps. Jelani drops down to 11 in a game that the Buckeyes decided to throw the ball to the tight ends 6 times. G. Scott gets 4. Jelani gets none. Puzzling to say the least. In addition, Jelani's run blocking grades way better in that game than G's and Kazmarek. I don't get it. I don't know what the deal is with that. But oh my gosh. Hey, Brandingo. I noticed too. Genty is putting up video game numbers. The dude is absolutely legit. A lot of talk about Milroe. Is he an NFL quarterback or not? I am so confused as to what this guy is as far as the NFL goes. All I know is, man, I love college football, and that guy is a weapon. What an insane athlete. Just insane. The deep balls are great. If he can continue, he hit 80% of his balls. The first player in SEC history to throw for 300, rush for 100, and hit 80% of his passes. That's wild. Absolutely wild. And that's a scary team with that dude playing like that. How far back am I from you guys? Oh, geez, I'm way far back on the comments here. Let me catch up and see where you guys are at before we peel out of here. Super chat. Thanks so much from Chocolate Chip Scooch. Appreciate you, buddy. Michigan State beating Oregon on Friday, or it'll be damn close. It's interesting. You got to think coming off the Buckeyes game, they might be pretty banged up, which, you know, who knows? But it'll be a fun one. I'll definitely be watching. Alpha Dog thinks that Jeremiah is being held back because of his quarterback play. You could definitely say that it's not. It's definitely not. I mean, it's hard to compare when Ryan Williams is getting all these opportunities for these deep balls. Jeremiah's not getting. You know what I mean? But a lot of people already getting sick of the comparison between these two, and I get it. It's already feeling overplayed. I'm taking Jeremiah 10 times out of 10. But again, this is a college football show from a very biased Buckeye. And I admit it, that's what it is. David Smith is with me here that it's ridiculous Gabe Powers isn't getting a real opportunity to play. I mean, the fact that CJ Hicks, who has been abysmal, absolutely abysmal at linebacker this year, and that's just the fact, is getting snaps over Gabe Powers makes no sense to me. I don't get it. Like, CJ Hicks is not your future at linebacker. At least put Gabe in there and let's see what you got. I don't get it. Dave says Howard should have had 2 picks. He absolutely should have. I talked to Dylan about this, and Dylan's like, if we counted everybody's should have, picks, we'd be here all day. And he makes a good point. But I can't really write that second one off that easily when Will Howard has played all of 3 pressure football quarters for us at Ohio State, right? 3 quarters of pressure football. That's all he's played. And when you throw a pick and another one, you totally don't even see the safety. It stands out to me. I definitely came away from the game remembering that play. Fisherman thinks that Austin Seerveld should be starting at right guard. The split between Tegra and Seerveld was very skewed towards Tegra, much more so than in the Marshall game. Again, another situation that surprised me because Seerveld's been playing better and Tegra's still making a few mistakes here and there. So I definitely thought that was going to be, again, like a 50-50 deal. It wasn't. Seerveld got less snaps than last week. And it seems like every situation where we've got this going on. Tight end, linebacker, right guard, where we've got the, guys splitting reps like this. The decision of who's getting the majority of the reps, I find very puzzling. Puzzling, like every single one. Brad said JT had a good game overall. I thought so too. Made a couple of really nice run stops. And again, really excited to see a couple of the plays he made in the all 22 this afternoon when that comes out. Dot still believes that we have the best defense in the nation. I, at one point, was convinced we had the best defense in the nation. The linebacker play needs to be better for me to be there. It just needs to be better. It's not good enough. And when you're making the decision that you're making, like, it just frustrates the hell out of me. Listen, so Kris loves Caden Curry. I'm with Fisherman here. I think that Mitchell Melton has brought all the same things Caden Curry has brought, but I just feel like he's flashed a little more to me. Mitchell Melton is a pleasant surprise, and we've seen it from him really since the spring game, where he came in and it was amazing. I think he made like 3 plays in the spring game that I was like, are you kidding me? Mitchell Melton is legit now. Scooch, also a fan of Melton. Fisherman with me here, and I think a lot of people are coming around on this one, that Hancock shouldn't be coming off the field for this 3-pack of linebackers. Shouldn't be happening. Day 1K thinks Sonny is the most overrated player on the team. I'm so glad people are seeing that. Like, Sonny is an awesome kid. He's an awesome Buckeye. He's an amazing athlete. He was an amazing high school athlete. Obviously, we know his pedigree coming out of high school. And one of the things that I fear is you get this image conjured in your head of what you think somebody can be. And I don't think that Sonny can be that linebacker that we thought, or his coaches thought, he may be able to be. I see some lack of instinct. He's unable to get off blocks, for one, which blows my mind with his physical strength and athleticism. Like, he gets caught on his block all the time. And that to me is, like, of all the things, maybe the most surprising. Like, dude, you're enormous. You've got really long arms. I don't understand this a bit. I don't get it. I'm with Neil here. I'm with Fisherman. JL isn't the coach we think he is yet. That's pretty clear. He will be. I mean, I have full confidence, but he's still feeling his way. Dave agrees that the Sonny transition has not been good. We're seeing a whole lot of Gabe Powers. Gabe has looked good every time he's been on the field, but we haven't seen him in a lot of different situations to be able to really say how good. IGB gets too much hate. I don't see the amount of hate you're seeing. I do think he got a lot of hate, and rightfully so, on Saturday. But to me, this is the majority of the this is the proper analysis on IGB. An amazing tackling corner. And when you've got linebackers who are struggling, that is one heck of a bonus. You know what I mean? One heck of a bonus. And yes, Kevin says he's Okudah's body type, almost to a T. Like, you couldn't draw it out better. And this is where Iggy is perfect for Michigan. Absolutely. An attack like that. And again, Iowa, another really good, good to have him playing a lot. And Brandino just adds the 1,000-yard perspective. We're complaining despite averaging 7 points given up in 250 yards. And that's what you do when you are comparing yourself against the very best of the best. Because we know that at some point in the season, we're going to be playing against the very best of the best. So we're looking at what they're doing. We're looking at what we're doing. And this is always difficult, right? But you just want to see your coaches react quick with adjustments. You want to see your players doing their jobs. And you don't want to see teams that are very much inferior to you looking like they're going through your defense like a hot knife through butter, which at times it looked like. And back to the bend don't break thing, like we had guys getting beat. That's different. You know what I mean? Having a defensive strategy where you're going to allow some things underneath, not let them hit you big. Like these are defensive strategies. Getting beat on plays is not a defensive strategy, which is what I meant by that. But at the same time, when you're good enough to just grind out your opponent, which is what they did, kill them with JJ, just killed the momentum. There was no chance they were coming out and doing anything in that second half. And that is the power of landing someone JJ's caliber. When you've got an absolute superstar, that picture, guys, you want to talk about an instant classic picture? This one right here. This picture will live on forever. That gentleman's face, he's looking at the spot that Jeremiah made the catch. Like he's still looking at that spot with his mouth like that. His eyes haven't even followed Jeremiah because what he saw in that particular spot, he can't believe it. He's that amazed. And you know what it looked like to me? Tuesday. It looked like Tuesday for Jeremiah because that's what he does every day. That's what he does every day. The dude is unbelievable. It's past the point where I even get surprised. Yeah, it is an extremely developmental position. And to be quite honest, they never had the for this current crop, not a lot of good clay to start with. You got a converted wide receiver in G. Will Kazmarek is a 3-star, and he looks like it. Bennett Christian is he's an offensive lineman playing tight end. It just doesn't weigh quite as much. Jelani's your dude, and you're not playing your dude, and you're passing the ball to the guys that aren't the dudes. I don't understand. Dot with some good perspective here. Ohio State doesn't have elite everything. We just have better everything than everybody else. Eric, we got a Tide in here. He says, roll Tide. Congrats on the big win. That was one heck of a game. Dave asks, our thoughts on Caden McDonald getting more snaps. I think Caden McDonald is the future. When we talk about the interior, the young guys, he plays with juice. He's got a ton of energy. He's got a ton of attitude. He's always making plays. They can't, when he takes on double teams, great. They can't move him off his spot. I'm totally for it. Totally for it. But at the same time, Tyleek is just amazing. And Ty Hamilton, what a season he's having so far. Ty Hamilton is a guy, again, that, and I've talked about this before, is so unbelievably undervalued by the majority of our fan base. And a lot of it has to do with his position. But it's so funny when we look at the parallels with his brother. His brother was the same way. Both unheralded recruits, undervalued by the fan base. Their senior year, they're just like, wow, hey, by the way, that dude's amazing. Like, he's awesome. And they become fan favorites. And I feel the same kind of momentum swinging for Ty, which I absolutely love. because he totally deserves it. He plays like a madman all out every play. He's so strong. What he does to those centers is ridiculous. Eric, now why'd you go there, man? We just welcomed you in and you want to come in and say that. That's not a way to ingratiate yourself with the Juckeyes. Rod said there's a Michigan fan here to troll the schedule, which is pretty interesting considering their last 2 years out of conference schedule. I mean, I'm just amazed at them calling out the Ohio State schedule. Colorado State, Hawaii, Connecticut, East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green. That's their last 2 schedules. It's just, I mean, they just have no self-awareness about anything. That's what it is. Really. All right, my friends. It is time for me to get some work done. I appreciate y'all so much for joining me. Thanks for kicking it with me in the chat. And, did Dikembe Mutombo die? We got to rip Dikembe Mutombo. Hey, Dikembe Mutombo Mplando Makamba Jean-Jacques Mutombo is his full name. I was a big fan when I was young. Rest in peace, Dikembe. Anyway, guys, appreciate y'all so much. Please check out my sponsor, ColumbusApparelCo.com, where I have all my Juck on Bucks merchandise, which is some pretty cool stuff made of the finest quality, of course. That's how we do it here at Juck on Bucks. And you can find any of that along with Columbus and Ohio apparel. And you can get all your screen printing done there on any kind of garment. It's some really cool leatherette patches that they put on their hats. I'll show you here one. I really love it. So they put these leatherette patches instead of, you can get an embroidery, but instead of an embroidery, they do this, which is really awesome. It's a cool look. And t-shirts, printed, all your garments. Use the code JUCK20. You'll get 20% off, which will make it cheaper than any of the bums that show up on a Google search, which will give you trash. So please do that. Check them out. Please like the video for me. And I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe as we're trying to, continue to keep things moving in the right direction and keep spending as much time as we can to make the show better here. And I appreciate you all so much. I will check you guys out tomorrow at Juck on Bucks, 9:30 every morning, as we have moved pretty much full time into the live format because I've gotten over my fear, which is a pretty good thing. It's a pretty cool feeling to be able to do this. I was so scared of this for so long to do it live, and now here we are. So we did it, guys. Congratulations to all of us. I appreciate you all so much. I will talk to you tomorrow. Juck on Bucks out.